Just the other day, I was on an evening walk with my kids in Alhambra village. So we were admiring the weather, and it's been quite wild lately. So one minute there's a sun, and then the next minute suddenly there's a downpour. So I just looked up and said, hey, look, the climate is really changing today. Now, it felt like a very normal, harmless observation because it is true, the climate had changed across the day. But should we be using the same term to describe a planet catching a dangerous fever? Think about it. If your child had a high fever, you don't say that the temperature has changed. You say that they're sick. You say that it's an emergency. So why did we all collectively stop using the word global warming? Where exactly did the word go? It did not disappear on its own. It was pushed out. Back in 2002, a political consultant in the US advised exactly that shift. Stop using global warming because it sounds frightening and catastrophic. Start using climate change because it sounds more controllable, less emotional. Same reality, but the language had softened it. And once the language is softened, the reaction changes. That's the point. So once you notice this, you start seeing it everywhere, especially in journalism. Because journalism is not just about what happened, it's about how it is told. And the way it is told shapes how you understand it. Words matter. If I say, police shot a man, it is clear. You know who did what. Now, if I say a man was shot, the meaning shifts. The action is still there, but the person responsible has disappeared. It makes state violence feel like a natural disaster, like a storm that just occurred rather than a specific human decision. You are no longer asking who did it. You are just processing that something happened. Now, that's not a small change. That's removing responsibility without changing the facts. And then there is nominalization. This is when you turn a violent action into a boring noun. Instead of invading or killing, we hear terms like military operation, intervention, or surgical strike. A phrase like surgical strike, it sounds precise, controlled, almost clinical. But what does it actually mean? It means bombing. It means destruction. It means people die. But the phrase turns that into something technical, something distant, something that does not hit you emotionally in the same way. And that's how we get to phrases like collateral damage. It turns the death of actual human beings into secondary detail of a strategic operation. It turns a moral catastrophe into a grammar point. And then there's substitution. That is where it becomes very obvious. There was a Harvard study that found out that major newspapers like the New York Times show that when waterboarding was done by other countries, it was called torture. But when the US did the same, the term changed to enhanced interrogation. Now, nothing changed on the ground, only the word changed. And once the word changes, the perception changes as well. Where can we find an asymmetrical war using just words? Nowhere is this more obvious than the coverage of the occupation of Palestine. An AI study of 33,000 news articles found that US media consistently use aggressive verbs for Palestinians. Look at how this plays out in conflict reporting. You will often see headlines like, "Clashes erupted." It sounds like two equal sides fighting each other. But are they equal? Same power, same control, same resources? Most of the times, no. But the word clashes makes it feel balanced. It makes it feel like a fair fight. And then you see something like Palestinian killed as clashes erupt. Who killed him? You don't know. The sentence does not tell you that. But then in another headline, you will see Palestinians attack or Palestinians kill. And suddenly the actor is clear. The verbs are stronger. The intent is obvious. Same situation, but the language is doing a different work here. And then we have legacy outlets like the BBC. Now, they love to hide behind this myth of neutrality. There has been occasions they have refused to use the term occupation or terrorist because they don't want to take a side. Now, many journalists believe that avoiding strong or direct words makes them neutral. But if avoiding those words removes clarity, removes responsibility, then what exactly are we doing? Because that is not neutrality, that's a choice. And the choices shape how people understand the world. The truth is, there is no such thing as pure objectivity. Every story is filtered. What you include, what you leave out, what words you choose. All of that builds a version of reality. Even labels matter. Terrorist, militant, combatants. These are not just descriptive terms, they carry judgment. They decide how you see someone, how you feel about them, because their actions feel justified or condemned. Ethical journalism is not a neutral act. It is a persistent struggle against the linguistic trick that makes violence bearable for the public. Don't let them frame the world for you. Demand linguistic honesty. So, what is the fix? For journalists, I have a simple rule. Every headline should pass a who did a what to whom test. If the headline hides the actor, it is a protective frame. For the rest of us, remember that words are the architects of our political reality. When journalism fails to use the precise language, it is actively participating in the manufacturing of consent for injustice. Ethical journalism is not a neutral act. It is a persistent struggle against the linguistic trick that makes violence bearable for the public. Don't let them frame the world for you. Demand linguistic honesty. I'm Sabir Haq. See you in the next one. If you're tired of being framed by news, hit follow. Share this with someone who needs to look closer.